Hi, I'm Roger Baird, and this is my wife, Teresa.
How did you get involved in farming?
This is where I grew up. My dad farms. I enjoyed it too. He was slowing down and eventually retired, but it was a smooth transition.
Have you had jobs off the farm?
Yeah, I always had a full-time job off the farm, so farming has been pretty much part-time. So John Deere mechanic for a while, and then I went to work for the Richland County Highway Department. Now I currently work for Plymouth Township as a road superintendent.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I do have one sister that lives with her family.
Teresa, when you married Roger, had you grown up on a farm?
Yes, I grew up in Lorain County, and my father and grandfather had a small dairy. And then eventually I went to live with my grandmother, and she had sheep, was kind of her hobby. And I lived with her for quite a while. Pigs was all new, though, to me when Roger had pigs.
How did you two meet?
Through some friends.
Well, I was working in Norwalk, and one of the nurses that I worked with was friends with Roger.
How many acres are you farming?
Yeah, we farm 135 acres. 70 of it's owned and the rest is rented.
What kind of crops are you putting in?
We usually run about like 40% corn, 40% beans, and 20% wheat.
And we talked a little bit about cover crops and double crops. Can you explain some of that?
Once we've taken the wheat off and baled the straw, I have another neighbor that has some beef cattle, and he will come in and plant an oats crop, or this year he's planted sorghum Sudan grass. And then he'll take one cutting off of that prior to a frost. And that works really well because it controls the weeds. And then when he's done with it, it's a clean field for me. And something's growing in it during the summer. And we have it's like a root mass there over the winter. And then apply some manure on those fields. And then get it ready for corn next spring. And then when the beans are off, like about half the beans are planted to wheat then in the fall. Then the rest of it's planted to a rye cover crop, which in the spring then I'll kill it off before it gets too tall, but maybe less than a foot tall. And then we use vertical tillage and whatever tillage we need, but usually vertical tillage works. And then we plant corn in there.
And how did you get involved in vertical tillage?
Saw how it was working for different neighbors, and I thought I'd try it, and it seems to work here real well. So.
And about how long do you think you've been doing vertical tillage?
Probably 4 or 5 years now.
How many head of sows do you have?
Right now we have 15 sows. I have had as many as 20 sows.
About how many acres of woodland do you have?
I think it's between 8 and 10 acres of woods.
Any idea what kind of species?
When the emerald ash borer took a lot of the ash trees, we did have it logged out that time, just mainly to clean up before the ash trees got unsellable. There's a lot of shagbark hickory, some oak, and not much maple.
Have you ever done any soil testing?
Yeah, I don't know how long. We've done the grid sampling for quite a few years. I would say at least 10 years anyway, or 15 maybe. We've grid sampled, and then that's on like a 3-year rotation. Like each year you do basically a third of the land gets grid sampled.
Have you seen any changes that have come about as a result?
I think the field's a little more even, and I think we're saving some fertilizer and some money by doing that. Applying a little less fertilizer now than we used to, just because there's some spots in the field that just it doesn't use it up as fast. And I feel we're doing a better job of the most use of what we do spread for the line too.
What is meant by variable rate phosphorus?
Sunrise does our soil testing, and then they come up with a map, and that has different zones in it that are individually tested, and then they can see what part of the field is low and what part is high. They also use this map when they're spreading it, and then as they're spreading the fertilizer, it knows what part of the field doesn't need as much phosphorus, and same with the lime too, and then what parts do need it.
We were talking about conservation tillage and why it's important to you.
I guess I don't like to see try to keep the erosion down so that less I have to work this, turn the soil over or disturb it. Probably we'll see less erosion, and it is time savings. Hasn't affected our yield, maybe a little bit, but not drastically. So far it isn't. Seems to be a good idea, or it's going well.
As far as small grains are concerned, is that wheat, your rye?
Yeah, wheat would be considered small grains.
Why did you get interested in wheat?
Mainly for the straw. With the few pigs that we have, we always needed straw, so we just planted a small amount of wheat.
You're also involved in the H2 Ohio program.
Right.
What prompted you to get involved in that program?
Some of the requirements of that program we were already doing. We were already planting cover crop. We were already doing a variable rate and soil testing. So we did not have a nutrient management plan for our manures. We did have to get that, and that was something that probably needed to be done anyway. Makes me think conservation a little more.
What benefits are you looking for from that?
Well, with the nutrient management, I had no idea what the analysis of our manure was. So we did have that tested, and now we have an idea of what we're gaining, by spreading that. And then that way they can figure that into our other fertilizers that we spread and the phosphorus and things.
And so with H2 Ohio, what are the practices you're involved in?
We do the cover crops, we do the small grain, and variable rate, phosphorus, the soil testing, and then we develop a nutrient management plan for the manure application. So it just gives us some numbers that we can add into our total plan.
Why is conservation important to you?
You don't want to hurt your land. I guess I don't like to see any erosion. I guess that's soil or nutrients moving off the farm. You'd like to keep them on the farm. If there's anything that we can practice, we can use that's not going to hurt our profitability.
What benefits have you seen?
I don't think our phosphorus was that out of control or that high. The rye cover crop is actually working this way, but it does have the potential, and wheat too, of deep-rooted, and some breaking up the compaction of the tight soil.
Right. You're also involved in your community and church.
Members of the Lutheran Church in Shelby and Farm Bureau. Then we have a small Farm Bureau council group that we meet once a month and discuss local and neighborhood issues.
Anything that you want to add?
No, I don't, other than the technology. I don't have a lot of technology, but what little bit I have is very nice.
Thank you both for your time.